What are some recent scientific breakthroughs/discoveries that aren't getting enough attention? You can now do an entire hour's worth of MRI scan within 70 seconds because of Swedish researchers who did some coding magic. It'll be super exciting to see this thing roll out across the world in the coming years. Edit to add the article in Swedish Dagensmedicin.se. As someone who spent about 90 minutes in an MRI this year, this would be great. I don't mind the tight spaces, but they do get very warm. I very much do mind the small spaces, but I think I might be okay if I could tell myself it was 2 minutes instead of the nightmares that have been my past MRIs. I had a good number of MRIs when I had brain surgery. For an AVM they always gave me headphones and put on Pandora of my choosing. I'll admit I was pretty out of it, so I didn't notice how long they took, but I do remember my family complained I was gone a long time after one of them. Yeah, I got one for a muscle tear and they put on some nice 90s alt rock and I actually ended up falling asleep, which was nice as the nap was much needed. Earlier this month, scientists were able to successfully weld glass and metal together using ultrafast, on the order of picoseconds, which are such a short unit of time that compared to it, a full second might as well be 30,000 years laser pulses. This hasn't been successfully done before due to the very different thermal properties of glass and metal. This is actually a pretty big breakthrough in manufacturing and could lead to stronger yet lighter materials. Pretty recently they started doing tests for an extremely mobile skin grafting machine. It uses a kind of hydrogel out of the patient's own skin, and scans the area of the burn, then just prints out the skin. I saw a video a while ago about a guy who had a solution of skin cells airbrushed on the burn, mostly second degree, irk. In 3 to 4 days he was healed with no scarring. The skin gun, u2.be edit. There are many other videos about the skin gun on YouTube if you can't view the one I posted. Edit 2, FDA approved one of these products in 2018, newnews.com. Archaeologists have uncovered a site that was formed within minutes of the time the Chicxulub comet hit, proving that it really happened, pretty much as expected, and slaughtered millions of animals immediately through both fire and debris from the sky and an enormous tsunami that ripped through the North American inland sea. This is probably going to remain the find of the 21st century, that's how amazing it is, ScienceDaily.com. Paleontologists, actually. Ross vs. Indy. As long as Indy doesn't steal his sandwich, he should be good. You threw my sandwich away? My sandwich? #my sandwich. Microfragmentation, the scientific creation of coral, take up to 25 to 30 years, done in 3 years. Helping the ocean and planet survive, Medium.com. The warehouse attached to my property is heavily invested in this. It's really cool seeing the coral laid out under the huge specialist lights they have in there. Very futuristic industrial vibe. Somebody discovered Alzheimer's might be a reaction to a bacteria. Edit link perio.org. Thanks for the silver. It is worth putting this in context. There are a lot of competing hypotheses about the cause of Alzheimer's disease. Some have argued human herpes virus 6 or 7 causes AD. There's also a prion hypothesis. The dominant hypothesis is still the amyloid hypothesis. This is more a flash of light that might be illuminating a piece of the animal, but we have a lot more work to discover if it is an elephant. Without ignoring the tragic effects of Alzheimer's, it's great to watch science unfolding in front of us. You're right, the amyloid hypothesis does still seem to be the front-runner hypothesis, but the recent, multiple, failure of drug trials targeting this factor hints at a deeper causation. Discovering the causes of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's will be a huge step forward when they finally come. Schizophrenia may start in your bone marrow. One guy got cured of schizophrenia by getting a bone marrow transplant, NewYorkTimes.com, and another guy got schizophrenia from a bone marrow transplant from his schizophrenic brother, Nature.com. 2 more cured from HIV. The London patient's treatment is not a scalable, safe or economically viable strategy to induce HIV remission. Not that it isn't great for the patients to be HIV-free, but the cure came from getting their bone marrow replaced because they had cancer. Honestly, you might be in a worse spot if you have lymphoma than HIV, and doctors aren't going to do marrow transplants for otherwise healthy patients because it's such an extreme and costly procedure. Hoping for a wider cure for HIV. That we have figured out how to suck CO2 out of the atmosphere, and now, very recently, how to turn it into solid flakes of carbon again. And not just under highly specific and expensive lab conditions. This process is apparently scalable. Bigthink.com. We still need to curb emissions, but this does flip the equation quite a bit regarding global warming, allowing us to put some of the toothpaste back into the tube, so to speak. Coupled with wind and solar energy, I predict this will become a major industry by mid-century, and very pure carbon and abundant material. Edit. Thanks for the gold and silver, kind strangers. This has become by far my most popular comment ever on Reddit. Yes, carbon engineering is running a plant right now that is taking CO2 out of the air and turning it into usable diesel-type fuel. Edit. Here's a link to their site. And trying it into usable diesel-type fuel. Oh shit. My Job Is Coming came out with a drug that reduces the damage chemotherapy does to the body and helps regenerate blood cells faster, allowing for stronger doses to be administered and treatment scheduled to be reduced heavily. This allows doctors to treat cancer more aggressively. Due to this blowing up, I am not part of research, I just work here. For those that dug through my post history, it's not uncommon for people to get degrees but work in different fields. The drug is already on the market. No, coffee doesn't actually cure cancer. Disturbingly relevant username. Is it safe to assume that drug he is coming out with is really just caffeine? Research runs on coffee. It isn't just the bee colonies that are dying, it's all our insects. Recent research and predictions are saying that our insect populations, particularly that of butterflies and moths, are on track to extinction in 100 years due to pesticides and climate change. If our insects continue to decline, we will see a cascade flow into other animals, birds, etc., including our own species. Environmental scientists are saying we're at the beginning of a mass extinction event. Truly terrifying, and very little is leaking to the public via mass media or being mocked as a conspiracy theory. TheGuardian.com. Pretty much all water and food we consume contains microplastics. Cool. Bacteriophages being used to cure diseases and being able to solve the antibiotic crisis. Given I think Kirkstwat whatever it's called, the YouTube channel that gives people existential crisis, did a vid on it. U2.b video by Kirstjessic for those interested. Edit. Thank you, generous stranger, for the gold. Their most recent one is literally about what would happen if we gathered all the uranium on Earth, turned it into nukes, and then blew ourselves up. I love how one day they can make a video about the inevitable death of the universe and all life, and then another day decide to ask what would happen if we blew up South America. Göbekli Tepe, ruin discovered in Turkey that dates back to 11,000 BCE or further. This throws a massive wrench into our understanding of what people were capable of at that time, and hints at advanced civilizations having likely existed long before we thought they did. It has also only been about 10% excavated. I've actually read some articles over the past few weeks about archaeologists using LiDAR technology to uncover Mayan ruins, and they found that Mayan civilization was much more extensive than originally assumed. At its height, it's now believed that its population may have numbered near 15 million citizens, and that they engaged in extensive trade with their neighbors to the north and south. These LiDAR scans have revealed evidence of vast cities, farmlands, and roadways. And this was all without any pack animals or wheeled carts. Yes. I just finished reading The Lost City of the Monkey God by Douglas Preston. They used LiDAR to detect the location of the ruins before setting out. The parasite that apparently led to the city's downfall, Leishmaniasis, still lives there and infected many of the crew on the expedition. The parasite that apparently led to the city's downfall, Leishmaniasis, still lives there and infected many of the crew on the expedition. Well, that sounds terrifying. Hopefully modern medicine has an effective treatment for it. Treatment, yes. However, they can't get rid of it, and if your immune system ever falls, such as with chemotherapy, it returns and does nasty things. Nice, ancient super parasite. Talk about Montezuma's revenge. Guardant Health's blood test is more effective and ridiculously quicker at detecting some forms of lung cancer than a conventional, more intrusive tissue biopsy. Biospace.com. Therese, a good chance there will be a cure for celiac disease within the next 10 years. Therese, currently an active and ongoing clinical trial where participants, with diagnosed celiac, are getting infusions that will ultimately reverse the autoimmune response a person with celiac has when they consume gluten. It's still far from complete, but we are closer than we've ever been to curing celiac disease. The clinical trial is taking place in Cleveland, Ohio. I was asked to be a part of it, but unfortunately I just don't have the extra time. If anybody local wants more information, please message me and I can get you in contact with one of the researchers. One of the more recent theories in psychiatry gaining popularity, although it was acknowledged decades ago, is the role of inflammation and the immune system in mental illness. There are studies showing that in schizophrenia and other psychotic conditions, inflammation attacks the brain. Some of the damage by inflammation might be irreversible, so the hope is that early intervention could prevent chronic schizophrenia. Trials have been attempted with anti-inflammatories like fish oil, with mixed success. The role of inflammation has been extended to multiple mental illnesses, like depression, with raised inflammatory markers and other evidence being a common finding. Ultimately, mental illness is multifactorial, and the causes are often biological, psychological, and/or social. So we can't reduce something so complex and heterogeneous to just an action by the immune system. But it has gained some excitement in the field because there could be people out there, for example, with schizophrenia for whom one of the primary causes is immune system dysregulation, and researchers are racing to find a prevention.